to the very first episode of MLB Round the Bases here on Spanglish Sports World and Lingo TV. My name is Jeremy Schooler. I will be your host for this show, MLB Round the Bases, as we head into a brand new MLB season after last year's very, very different COVID-shortened season. We are back to a normal, quote-unquote, season of 162 games, the return of pitchers hitting in the National League. Teams will play every team within their respective league, as opposed to last year they only played in their geographic division. We are, quote-unquote, back to normal. Very exciting, and lots to look forward to, as there's going to be a bunch of teams this year that are surprisingly good. I predict teams like Padres, the Marlins, who have been pretty bad for a while. Both made playoff runs last season with the expanded playoff system, as well as many other teams. So lots to go over as we preview the MLB season. There's news with teams have been announcing cuts and announcing final rosters as spring training comes to a close, as the season will get underway in just about a week. It always creeps up when you hear at the end of spring training, but April 1st, so no, I say a week, 3 days. 3 days as we will get started with so many games on that day, a bunch of day games just to go over the matchups and pitching matchups and team matchups for Thursday. To start things off at 1 o'clock, Hyunjin Ryu against Garrett Cole, Blue Jays Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Indians Tigers, Shane Bieber against Matthew Boyd. Orioles Red Sox, John Means against Nathan Eovaldi. Twins Brewers, Kenta Maeda, Brandon Woodruff. That'll be the interleague game to open the season. Twins Brewers, a couple of North Midwest rivals. The Twins visiting Milwaukee. Pirates Cubs. Pirates have not yet announced their starting pitcher, but I'm sure they can find someone off the street who can start for them. Just kidding. But of course, the Pirates will probably have a continuation of most of the past 25 years, as they have not been very successful. But they will be on Wrigley Field playing Liam Hendricks. And the Cubs, Braves Phillies, Max Fried against Aaron Nola. Dodgers Rockies, Clayton Kershaw, Herman Marquez. D-backs Padres, Madison Bumgarner, Yu Darvish. Cardinals Reds, Jack Flaherty, Luis Castillo. Rangers Royals, Kyle Gibson against Brad Keller. Rays Marlins, Tyler Glasnow against Sandy Alcantara. Mets Nationals, a matchup of a couple of former Cy Young winners, multiple-time Cy Young winners. I actually went to a spring training matchup last week, Mets Nationals, DeGrom, Scherzer, White Sox Angels, Lucas Giolito and Dylan Bundy. Astros A's, Zach Greinke, Chris Bassett, and Giants Mariners, Kevin Gausman, Marco Gonzalez. So of all these matchups, of course, opening day, always the best matchups of the year, as every team starting their ace on opening day if they're healthy. But some specific ones that I am quite excited for. I'm going to look at a few right here. Braves Phillies, Max Fried against Aaron Nola. Aaron Nola and Max Fried both kind of had huge breakout seasons the last year or two, both on the younger end, as Aaron Nola, 27, Max Fried for the Braves, also 27. So they both kind of exploding a little bit later, but a very exciting matchup as the Phillies, with the Marlins improving. The Phillies, my pick for them personally is to finish fourth or fifth even in the division. Worst case scenario, I think they fall behind the Marlins, but I don't think the Phillies are going to have a great year. But if they do, it would all stem on the back of Aaron Nola. Another big matchup that was Shane Bieber versus Matthew Boyd. Of course, Shane Bieber had a spectacular season last year, won the Cy Young in the American League, kind of coming out of nowhere, finishing last year with an 8-1 record, 1.63 ERA in 12 starts. He pitched 77 and a third innings, allowing just 46 hits, just 14 earned runs all year. Of course, was not great in the playoffs, but he did win the Cy Young, and he does have spectacular stuff. So as the Indians work to kind of come back into the Central Division in their post Frankie Lindor era, as Francisco Lindor has been traded to the Mets, Like the Phillies, they're very dependent on their ace. They will be very dependent on Shane Bieber. Against Matthew Boyd, of course, the Tigers did not have a successful season by any means last year. The Tigers and the Pirates, two of the worst teams in the league last season. Of course, the Tigers record last season in 2020 in that shortened season, finishing at well out of the playoff race with a record of 23-35. Not quite the worst in the American League, so there's that for them. But just ahead of Texas, and a couple games ahead of Pittsburgh, third worst team in the league. But Matthew Boyd is a bit of a bright spot. Spent his whole career with Detroit since coming over from Toronto in 2015. But this past season, for a very poor Tigers team, 3-7, started 12 games as well, 60 innings. He had a bit of an off year last year. 2019, though, when he pitched 185 innings, allowing 94 earned runs. He had about a 4.4 ERA that year. Let's see, going to be big to see if he can jump back, if he has any trade value as the Tigers tried to rebuild their farm system, as they will work to hopefully be competitive by, let's say, 2023, 2024. Other big pitching matchups for opening day that we're looking at. A big one for me, maybe my top one, other than, of course, DeGrom, Scherzer, with 5 Cy Youngs between them. That is just power versus power. That's the night game, 7 o'clock on ESPN. The Nationals' second straight season, starting the season in New York, as last year they hosted the Yankees, and Scherzer was on the mound for that. This one, the 4 o'clock game, one of the 4 o'clock games, Rays, Marlins, Tyler Glasnow, Sandy Alcantara. That will be one of the 3 interleague games to opening day. As I said, Twins, Brewers, interleague, Rays, Marlins, the Battle of Florida on opening day, and Giants, Mariners later that night. 2 at National League Park, 1 at American League Park. Tyler Glasnow against Sandy Alcantara. Sandy Alcantara, very under the radar, as frankly the Marlins get next to no coverage. But the Marlins did make the playoffs last season, and were able to do a bit of damage. As the Marlins before last season had never. They had made the playoffs twice in their history, both as a wild card team, and won the World Series both times. One of the craziest phenomenons of any team, really, that they made the playoffs twice without a division title win in 28 years, yet they'd won the World Series both times. So last year, the Marlins finishing second in the division, vaulting all the way up to a winning record of 31-29. The Braves winning the division, of course, but the Marlins 31-29, and then making the postseason, where they beat the Cubs in the first round of the playoffs card, before losing to their division rival, the Braves, their first playoff series loss in team history. But I would look at the Marlins to get back on it this year, as with these expanded playoffs, they're going to be fighting for a playoff spot again this year. Returning guys like Sandy Alcantara, Jorge Alfaro, Corey Dickerson, a couple of former All-Stars, Adam Duvall, Starling Marte, Monte Harrison, top prospect, who him and his brother, 2 of the most athletic brothers you're going to see, one in the NBA, one in the MLB. Sandy Leon, really just so Pablo Lopez, who Sixto Sanchez, of course, Trevor Rogers. They just got a ton of capable arms as well as bats. Not necessarily going to make a run or predicting that, or I don't think they're going to win the division, but they certainly have a chance to make the playoffs again this year. They did win a playoff round last year, and finishing second in the division last year, even in the shortened season, was very impressive. So we're going to see what the Marlins can do this year. It all starts with Sandy Alcantara, especially going against the defending American League champions and their new ace with the trade of Blake Snell, their new ace Tyler Glasnow. So Rays Marlins on opening day. I think that series, seeing who can win that series, will be big. As they're going to go with Yarbrough against Pablo Lopez the next day, and then playing again Sunday, and playing again Saturday So the Thursday, Friday, Saturday series, that'll be a big one between the Rays as the Rays try to rebuild. As the Yankees got a little bit better, they lost Blake Snell. Seeing what they can do with Randy Arozarena, who exploded out in the preseason or in the postseason last year. So lots of intrigue in that series in the Battle of Florida. Other good matchups, of course, Garrett Cole is with the Yankees these days. It's really just World Series or bust, and standing in their way, Hyunjin Ryu, longtime Dodger, now with Toronto for his second year. So the Blue Jays going to Yankee Stadium. Jack Flaherty, Luis Castillo in the NL Central matchup. Flaherty, spectacular. Luis Castillo, very, very good last year. Another guy who was a bit underrated just because he played on a team like Cincinnati, wasn't very good. As Cincinnati, also same record as the Marlins, 31-29. And with the expanded postseason, we're able to clinch a wild card berth, but really not do much damage at all. Luis Castillo, though, last year for the Reds, an all-star 2 years ago, but last year, 4-6 with a 3.21, 70 innings pitched. His strikeout to walk ratio, 89-24, very good. But he looking to get back on track from his 2019 season. 2019 went 15-8 with a 3.4 ERA and 32 games started. And he's going to have a tough task against Jack Flaherty, who's really another team, the Cardinals, who are going to be riding and dying with Jack Flaherty. Obviously, their ace, a big breakout as well. Of course, on the hitting side, one of the biggest acquisitions of the offseason, the Cardinals acquiring Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. The Rockies, my pick. If I had to choose a team that I'm confident will lose 100 games, if any, because it's hard to pick any team to lose that many games, I think it would be the Rockies. I think they're actually worse than the Orioles. Arenado was just the heart and soul of that team. They got rid of him. But after Jack Flaherty, Miles Mikolas, Adam Wainwright, the 40-year-old Adam Wainwright. After Flaherty and Miles Mikolas, then Kwang Hyun Kim, Carlos Martinez, Daniel Ponce de Leon. The rotation is there if they can keep it up after Flaherty. If Wainwright can stay healthy, Miles Mikolas is a bit of a question mark. Kwang Hyun Kim coming over from Korea, where the lefty though he's going to be the only lefty in that rotation, unless between Daniel Ponce de Leon and John Gant fighting for that last spot in the rotation. But going with the Cardinals also, Paul Goldschmidt, of course, falling off a little bit, but with him at first, Tommy Edman at second, and then Nolan Arenado, Matt Carpenter with no DH this year, going to need to find time for both of them to play. Paul DeJong, and then the outfield is a bit questionable. I think the outfield is what we're not sure on with them, as Dylan Carlson, very young guy, rookie year, 22-year-old. In right, Harrison Bader in center, Tyler O'Neill in left. Tyler O'Neill been kind of bopping up and down around the minors. The Canadian Tyler O'Neill, he has a chance. I mean, he's got insane power. He can hit very well, and a guy like Tyler O'Neill, the native of Maple Ridge, British Columbia, for all our Canadian viewers out there, he has a chance to break out. I'm not saying he will, but he has enough power that he could be one of these guys that before you know it, he's hit 4 home runs in a week, 10 home runs in a month, whatever. So that's one name I'd keep on the radar, Tyler O'Neill. But just as we wrap up our first show in the next few minutes, going to make some predictions for the playoffs for 2021. Of course, the different format as usual, and of course with fans back. Fans were at the World Series in the NL and LCS, but fans back for the regular season at every single ballpark will be very exciting. Even in Washington, D.C., which was my hometown, that just decided last week that they will allow fans. But with after last season's 60-game schedule, you've had teams over the last month announcing how many fans they'd be allowed in. For example, Pennsylvania with 2 teams, each allowing 8,800 fans or so. The 2021 All-Star Game this year at Truist Park in Atlanta, which will also include the MLB draft for the first time. And of course, as the 2020 All-Star Game was canceled last year, that pushes the Dodgers back from this year to next year to host the All-Star Game. Of Of course, that would have been cool to see the Dodgers in the year after they win the World Series hosting the All-Star game, but that will happen next year. The postseason is, because baseball is crazy the way it is, very iffy. not yet decided. But assuming it's the same as last year, we will have 8 teams in each league. So I'm gonna just pick winners of each division, and then winner of each league, and then my World Series prediction. So in the AL East, I'm gonna go through first to last. AL East, I'm going to go Yankees to win that division, unfortunately, but I'm gonna go Yankees, Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Rays, Orioles. The Orioles, I think, might be the worst team in the American League. In the AL Central, I would go White Sox, Twins, Indians, Tigers, Royals. AL West, on that one I would go Astros, A's, Angels, Mariners, Rangers. NL East, Atlanta, Miami, Washington. Atlanta, the Mets, Washington, Miami, Phillies, and I think all 4 of those teams, except the Marlins, get in if it's 18 playoffs. Except for the Phillies. NL Central, I would go St. Louis, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Chicago, Pittsburgh. I think the Cubs have kind of fallen off a little bit. The NL West, the Dodgers, I think, will easily win the division again. They went 43-17 last year. They have won the division very easily for each of the past, I think it's 8 years. And I don't see that changing. The Padres are good. The Padres will make the playoffs, but I don't see the Dodgers losing the division. So I'm going to go Dodgers, Padres, Giants, D-backs, Rockies. Winning the NL, my pick to win the NL is the St. Louis Cardinals. My pick to win the American League is going to be the Chicago White Sox, and I will have the Cardinals over the White Sox in the World Series. So it's going to be wrong, of course, as all predictions are going to be at this point. But that is my prediction: Cardinals or White Sox in the World Series. And for reference, if we look at the odds to currently win the World Series, the Cardinals, the Cardinals at this point, not great odds, but Cardinals, White Sox, my prediction. Looking forward to opening day in 2 days. We'll see you then. See you next week for recap of the first few days of the season. Until next week, enjoy opening day.